We have complained about it for long enough, and we are finally getting the next edition of Cases of Mystery Lane, Death is Listening. Today we are talking again to the writers of this fantastic mystery series, Joel Dovev and Margaux Froley. So here we go. Get ready, sleuthers. This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel. Okay, it is time again. We have Margaux and Joel, the writers for Cases of Mystery Lane, and it couldn't be more excited that it's finally coming back. How are you guys doing?
We're great. Thanks for having us back.
I couldn't be more excited because we've been bugging and annoying and doing our part to say, come on, Hallmark, you got to get another, the sequel for this one. So it's exciting. It's finally happened. I'm sure you guys are equally thrilled.
Thank you guys for bugging them, because that, I'm sure, helped, make this happen.
Yeah, it was an easier decision for them.
I will say what's weird, and I don't want to have any big things of oh, hey, I'm this massive, influencer and stuff. But we have discovered that somebody at Hallmark at least is definitely listening to our podcast and doing our Instagram, because we'll get certain messages or things from them. And we're like, oh, okay.
I hate to break it to you. Multiple people at Hallmark are listening to you, because I've had people at Hallmark send me the podcast when they mention the Cases of Mystery Lane. So it is you have breached the walls at Hallmark.
Yeah, you are. The water cooler, banter is happening.
It's thrilling and scary at the same time, which probably you guys live as well. So, but it's exciting. It's a great place to be. All right. So to get started, before we get into the movie, we're just going to do a little bit of ice breaking. No, we've already got to know you, but this is going to be a little bit of fun. So everyone else can get to know you guys a little bit better. So for each of you guys can answer the question, but what is the best mystery movie of all time?
Okay. Are we talking Hallmark or are we talking just whatever?
You can go back Orson Welles or whatever if you want, Alfred Hitchcock, whoever. Just the best mystery movie that's out there ever made.
Do you want to answer with that?
No.
I got one. Do you want to think about yours?
You first.
Okay, I'm gonna run. I will probably change my mind in 5 minutes, but I would go Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. In this, I remember we watched that on a DVD that was broken and we couldn't hear it very well. And we're like, what is this movie? And then we watched it with proper audio, and it was one of those holy cow, this blew my mind. Twists and characters and spies and Cold War and British spies. So and sleeper agents and stuff. So for me, that's the one of those. I know something's good when it's I want to quit doing what we do, because it's nope, there's no point. It's too good. That's one of those.
I had to Google it because I knew what it was. I just couldn't remember the name. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels for me, with Michael Caine and Steve
Martin. That explains a little bit right there.
It's a funny mystery. Right. I would also like to add. So I'm a huge Murder, She Wrote fan. So it's hard for me to say. I know that's a very controversial topic.
No. It is a shame that Andrea's parents came, because every episode she references Murder, She Wrote. She would be right there.
Well, you can tell her that I made Margaux go to Maine I found these places called the Cabot Cove Cottages, because Cabot Cove is a fictitious place, but right. We took a vacation there, and there's no lyrics to the Murder, She Wrote theme song, but I have written my own theme song.
I feel like you need to one day on Instagram, maybe that will come out, but
we'll do that for the next one when she's here, because it's not a pretty thing and I need a friendly audience. So
she'll be there with you. She'll probably will ask you to do the soundtrack so she can do it. But
no problem.
I was just visiting. We were talking before we started recording how my daughter's in Boston. We went up to Kennebunkport, and I was joking around on Instagram saying I was looking for Jessica Fletcher's house so I could buy, because it's apparently for sale, which is in California in real life. But I was joking how I was cruising around Maine looking for her house.
We were in Maine, and everything is very Murder, She Wrote in
It's
Maine.
very Murder, She
It
Wrote.
is.
Yeah. I mean, we were in England briefly this summer, and a friend of mine mentioned that she lives in the Midsummer Murders town, and she kind of just mentioned it super offhanded, and we had declined staying at her house. And after that, we were like, "What were we thinking? We could have gone to that village
What was
and
the one that they
had a
filmed?
whole Midsummer Murders."
In Oxford they filmed?
Not Doctor Who, Inspector Morse.
Inspector Morse too. So
We got real
super
nerdy.
deep cut.
We got super nerdy with our mystery stuff. I went to Agatha Christie's vacation home in the south of England. It was great. Which I will say, she bought it when she was 48, which gave me kind of hope of just like, oh, she wasn't like, I mean, I don't know if she was born into money, but it was like, oh, she like this was a little later in life purchase. This wasn't like her birthright kind of a thing. It was a beautiful estate.
But it was probably like $1,800.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
like a nickel and a cup of coffee.
It was like $3,500.
She like traded like 2 pence and a chocolate bar, and they're like, "Here's a house."
Yeah.
But yeah, and you guys living in Southern California, it's a little different, but
A
little different.
So all right. Now, by the way, you guys are not doing a good job here, because I think I'm going to be asking to go on vacations with you from here on out, because it sounds like
No problem, man.
we would be doing the same exact tours there and stuff. So, all right. Now, along the same line, who is the best villain of all time? It can be a movie or a TV series.
In a mystery or just in anything?
Villain. It could be.
Villain,
I mean,
a
villains
good
typically are a
villain.
mystery-ish thing, I think, but I guess it doesn't have to be. It could be a drama. They have villains, I suppose.
I mean,
The
I
best,
have to say
the best bad person.
Voldemort, I think, is a pretty good baddie.
What's his name?
No,
Gruber.
Hans Gruber's pretty great, which
Hans
is just like
Gruber,
Harry
man.
Potter. They're both kind of bad guys, and they're both like running away from him. Yeah, I think
I stand by Hans Gruber in Die Hard. That's just one of the old. I mean, it's Alan Rickman, man. And Snape in Harry Potter.
Yeah, I think for me it's Voldemort, because like he transcends. He's not human, but he is human, right? Like he was human, and now he's like this ultra evil presence, and what it does with fear, like just like we don't say his name. That's how scary he is, and I think that is like kind of the quintessential villain.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to think of good female villains, and I know they exist, but I can't think of any
The
right
only
now.
one that pops to head for me is the Bunny Boiler, but
Yeah, Glenn Close. Yeah, that's
yeah.
a good one.
but there's a zillion of them out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But of
she's
course,
a great
putting
one.
on the spot, I almost sent you the question ahead of time so you could think about it, but I thought it'd be more fun.
No, it is more fun
Yeah,
to watch
yeah.
a squirm.
No, because
All right.
we do on it for a while.
I'm excited for Joel's answer to this one, but both of yours are good. But what was your favorite TV show growing up?
What's Joel's answer on this one?
The A-Team.
The A-Team. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of just subversive characters escaping justice and set up for crimes that they did not commit. I also thought the military police in that series was a pretty great villain. Also a good villain is the bad guy from the Ghostbusters movie who works for the EPA, because I just hate that guy. Sorry, but the A-Team was like my ultimate favorite TV show.
All right.
This was I would watch on daytime, if I summers, if I could get afternoon TV in the summers. I loved Bewitched. Anything of just she's a housewife, but she's a witch and she's got a secret. That always really did it for me.
I just tried to do the nose thing, and I realized that you're recording this, and
it doesn't quite work.
I don't want that to
be. I can't think of other I don't know. I was a big fan of Alf.
I also liked The
Elf
Simpsons.
was a great show.
The Simpsons. I was a big I came up in the TGIF era, if you'll recall, which was Family Matters. And funny story about me, actually. I was sent to the school psychologist because my parents were concerned, because I loved the television show Dear John starring Judd Hirsch. And the premise of that is his wife has left him. Like
He's a therapist, right?
Yeah, but his wife has left him. Like the
Yeah.
theme song is the like, "Dear John,
The
by the
letter.
time that you'll be reading this, I'll be gone." And he lives in like a sad studio apartment, like an efficiency. And I thought it was like the funniest thing. And my parents were like, "Why does this 10-year-old like love this show?" And so like I had to go talk to the therapist because they were like a little concerned. But oddly, not the first time that's happened. Yeah, that's me.
All right, love it. All right, now we're going to get into a little bit of the writing.
Great.
So for each of you, what is the most annoying trait about the other's writing habits or whatever as a writing partner, since you guys do write together? So I don't want you to get divorced after this goes.
No,
so we don't want to go
this is
too
like-
deep here.
this
But like,
is a
what's just something
marriage,
annoying about writing each other?
This is a marriage flirtation.
I know what Margot's going to say about me.
What am I going to say about you?
My desk etiquette.
No, I mean it's not.
I have
great,
terrible
but
desk
that's
etiquette.
not- yeah.
The most annoying thing.
Can I just set this?
Oh, I know what it
Can I
is.
set the scene for a second? So we actually share a desk. We have like kind of a big like dining room table thing that is a shared desk, and then we have 2 armchairs in our room, in our desk, in our office, and then 2 whiteboards. So we have our own spaces, but there's a lot of sharing. We don't have a lot of separate space.
No, okay, so here's mine. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
The way my wife types.
Oh, yeah.
Margaux types like she is constantly writing an angry letter to the editor. Her
Wait.
key-
Do you have a Mac?
Yes, we both have
The
Macs.
Mac's keyboards are loud in general because I have a Mac at my office and I do a shared, and everyone thinks I write angry because they just are loud.
I don't
But
think
go
I
ahead.
write
No, but her keys are all worn out. I had my laptop for 10 years and the keys were all fine. She had one for a year and a half.
I had
And the
replaced
S
keyboard
and the like H and the N were like all worn out, and like every so often a key will just like give up and stop working because it's just been brutalized too much. It's so angry and so hateful. So that's that for her.
That's a good one. All right, Margaux, your turn to get back now.
Well, Joel's not allowed to write on our whiteboards. So that's a rule that we've made. So his job is to erase the whiteboards.
I'm really good at that.
He's really good at that.
Really good.
But I have the only semi-serial killer quality of writing to like I can write straight, I can color code. I manage a good whiteboard, and
really good.
Joel is not to be touching.
No, mine look. I write like, and Margaux was like, "Is that hieroglyphics?
Yeah,
like, what is that?
What is? And then like he tried to write something. It's like, nope, you've ruined the movie. We got to start.
I know it's bad because then I don't even know what I wrote. I'm like, what the hell was that?
But also like we're both really focus challenged, so we keep each other on track because it's the like, no, we're working, right? So what happens in this scene? Okay, great. And then I look over and he's online.
And I'm like, oh, there's a sale in Walmart for this. Like,
and I'm like, no, we're focusing.
We're doing this.
I get to be self-righteous about it. And then he looks over and I'm like, hey, there's new boots on sale. So like, we're both, nobody's winning in the attention Olympics over here.
Well, my next question was, how do you guys beat procrastination?
We don't.
We
do. It seems like you guys.
We keep a strict deadline, and we can't do what we want to do until stuff gets done.
I have a very like acute awareness of how much it's an honor to do what we do, and so like with that is like some degree of responsibility, right? Like, and when we're in the zone, I'm like a sprinter, right? Like, great, 2 weeks, we're like heads on this, let's do this, and so like. There's like a responsibility, and like not everybody gets to do what we do. And it took us 20 years in Hollywood trying to get this as a job. So like that the fear of this going away is greater than my intense level of procrastination.
Right. Well, like a lot of behavior, human behaviors say that fear is stronger than like enjoyment. So
for sure.
Yeah,
I really don't want to go to grad school, and that's what's going to happen. This goes away.
Joel's not cut out for business school.
Right.
But we also set like pretty firm deadlines and like for ourselves, and then we will make the mistake, like we will say them out loud to producers, and then it's like, well, we said it now, so we have to live up to it. So,
and we've never missed a deadline.
Yeah, we don't miss deadlines, and we
do writers usually miss deadlines?
with them.
What's that?
Do writers usually? I know it's like in movies you see them always missing deadlines and stuff, but in real life,
I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that we don't, and that's all I care about.
yeah.
We also like set, we have an 8-year-old, we have life, things are happening, we have kind of older parents that we are taking care of in some capacity. So like what we do is we just like we schedule it in our shared calendar, like writing. So for like, we don't write 8 hours a day. We do after 3 or 4, like kind of diminishing return. So like we'll put it in the calendar. So like, great, that time is when we are here, and that's when it gets done, as opposed to like, oh, we're gonna do it tomorrow, but then the kid was sick, and then we had to go grocery shopping, and I wanted to go for a run, and Margaux had to go to the gym. So like, we just structure, I think, is the antidote.
Yeah, we traveled this summer and kind of got stuff done, but we are creatures of routine.
Did you write when you were on the road?
Always.
A little bit.
Oh no, we got 45 pages done on the flight back.
We also, yeah. Oh yeah.
You want to tell? Can Margaux share a very funny story?
Of course.
Married story.
This was we've been married for almost 10 years. This is the shakiest it got.
Before I asked you the question of what annoys you guys as writing partners. But
this is like beyond. This was like an instant where I was. Margaux booked her flight in London before I was going to go.
So Boston to London.
And so we got on the same flight on the way back. Margaux was sitting in premium economy. I was sitting in the steerage, and so we had to finish a bunch of pages. So
we needed to be able to talk to each other.
We need to be able to talk to each other because you can't just do it. We just had to be next to each other. And so we collectively agreed.
We did collectively agree
that I would offer the person sitting next to me, hey, do you want to sit in premium economy? I need to sit next to my wife because we work together.
And then I was going to get bumped back to sit next to Joel.
And so we like board the plane, and I just see Margaux just being like, the seats are so big.
And I just had a moment, and I saw the other side, and I got my computer out, and I put my phone away, and I was like, nope, this is just going to be my world now for the next 6 hours. And I was kind of hoping Joel would forget that we
talked about it 30 seconds before.
Stewardess comes over and she's like, hey, are you the one that's going to switch with your husband? Because we're ready. We have to do it before we take off.
And I was texting her. I was like, are you sure you want to do this? And she had put her phone away. And so like Margaux just like
waiting with the stewardess to take my
seat. And he's like happy because he just got a free ticket to Disney World.
Bump up. Yeah. He's like, hey, thanks so much. And I got bumped back, and I couldn't, it was tight.
It's a large man next to you.
A large man, crouching on my seat. And Joel was trying to be very kind. And I just said, just don't look at me. Don't talk to me. I need the next 45 minutes right now.
Give me 45 minutes, Dovev.
Margaux, when they came up and said, hey, is this the seat, to swap? Margaux's like, I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah. You could have said no.
The guy was already up. He grabbed all his stuff. It was we did have to get stuff done.
And we got it done.
It was important that we were next to each other.
Well, it was very...
I feel for you because when my wife and I went over to Europe recently, and we did the premium economy, and it is very comfortable, very nice. And I went to Chile, and I flew back, and I was in normal, and I had the big guy next to me, and I couldn't actually, I don't even know how you did it. I couldn't, when I put my tray down, I couldn't type on my computer because my right hand wouldn't, there was no room for that side of the keyboard. So I don't know how you guys did it, but
we did.
It's tough. 45 pages worth.
And we're still married. It was great. I shut up, and somewhere over Northern Ireland, things started to soften.
Yeah.
So.
Last of the icebreakers. So if you guys weren't writers, and I know you wouldn't be going to grad school, Joel, but if you weren't writers, what do you think you would be doing with your life right now?
I'd be horribly unemployed.
Horribly unemployed.
No, I don't know.
I had a vision in moments of pending failure in my 20s of outdoor landscaping seemed nice, something outside, something with plants. I don't have that much of a green thumb, so that's funny. But I don't know, something outside. Yeah.
I don't have actually.
You'd be a landscape architect, just not a good one.
Probably not a great, but like, I could probably like do plans. Like, I got some vision for your garden. Whether I can keep it alive, that's up to you. That's not my job anymore.
All right.
I have no real marketable skills. So like it's this or like maybe a plumber. I'm terrible at plumbing or anything
No,
handy.
you get super grossed out
I
about
get
everything.
super grossed out about everything. So I don't want to be a plumber. I like the idea of a plumber. They drive cool vans. But
tool belt.
Based on, we just had a plumber come out, they must make good money too.
They make good money.
Insane money.
What they like $350 for 15 minutes worth of work. I'm like,
yeah.
Man,
It's
I
good
like
business.
that.
Poor hygiene standards. They just can walk in anybody's house smelling, looking like whatever, and like
Right.
grateful for them to be there. Yeah, I don't know. If I had to like go back and I was younger, I'd probably be like a cop. But like,
Interesting.
I feel like I had one of the reasons I thought about it when I was in my 20s, but I had really terrible credit, and somebody told me that they won't take you if you have really bad credit. So,
because you could be bribed or something, probably.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let's just.
We don't. We need this career to work.
We just need it to work.
All right. Well, let's move on. All right. So, Death is Listening finally coming out. It's what, a year and a half after the original. So when did you actually write Death is Listening?
Well, we had a 9-month writer's strike in the middle of us, so that was a bit of a clog in the work. So we got hired to do it.
Like a week before the writer's strike happened, and then unfortunately, even though that like we were asked to write it, because of the writer's strike, we couldn't actually work on it. We thought about it a lot, so when the writer's strike was over, we just had this built up like go. We wrote the outline in like, I don't know,
2 weeks or
less than 2 weeks, 10 days.
Yeah.
We're usually that takes a while.
We wrote like last fall, like whenever the strike ended, we like went in on that outline. So that was like October, and then we turned in that draft by December.
Yeah, because they filmed it in February.
We were filming in February, so
wait. They filmed this in February?
Yeah.
And we've had to wait. I'm going to write a sternly worded letter to someone at
You can use
Hallmark
Margaux's
now.
keyboard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dear Sir Flash
Margaux,
Madam.
will you write this for me? We had to wait since February. Oh.
Yeah, and they, I mean, we saw. I mean, first, it's like the Hallmark. They have quite a schedule and quite a system.
Right.
Like they shot it in February. They post was very quick. I think there's, I don't know how their calendar works, but it was hard to sit on because we knew it was coming. We were excited for it. Our big thing when we saw them filming it was
we went up there to film it.
There was just like, there's no way they're going to fit this whole script into whatever 84 minutes, whatever time they have. Cause they were so funny and they just made every scene so much funnier than we had written it, that we were just like, my hat is off to the editors and the director and how they're going to put this thing squeeze it into 84 minutes. And they did it.
Were the same from the first movie?
The same director, Mike Roll. I don't know our editor, so I apologize.
Yeah, I don't know the editor, but Kim Arnaud is the producer, and Kate Judge.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but they're a fantastic producing team.
Yeah.
I just may not be able to go on with this conversation because I've been waiting. I've been like bugging and saying, come on. I've liked the mysteries, but they've had new one. We're like, just give us a little taste of, one of the sequels. They just
I think they just have it planned out so far in advance that like, oh, there's a slot, boom, and because everything, the writer's strike, really, you can blame the MP,
everything shifted,
the MPTPP, like the producers, because that screwed everything up and made everything kind of like.
But we've been, since the first one aired in March a year ago, Original Case of the Mystery Lane, and like the response was so positive. And then we kind of had in our back of our heads, like, we know what movie 2 is, and we like get to hang out with Alden and Birdie more. And we were excited about this idea. We wanted to play with, the true crime podcaster, and kind of lean into some of those tropes and have some fun with that. And so we were really excited to write it and to talk about it, but we've had to sit on it for a while.
All right. So as you said, this did come out. The original one came out last August, and we had you on relatively right after that.
Yeah.
Was that like your inspiration? You had such a good experience being on the podcast. You're like, oh, we have to write about being in a podcast because podcasts are the best thing ever. Or
Pretty
like,
much. We had
I'm
not
taking
actually
so
heard
it
of a
really was
podcast.
inspired by me, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes.
All
Yeah,
right, I can live
we
with that.
hadn't heard of podcasting before we had been on it. So it was a very new world for us.
Yeah.
Now,
No,
do you listen
go
to
ahead.
true crime podcasts at all, or?
We don't live in a world, we don't have long commutes anymore, so we don't have an opportunity for a lot of podcasts. Like
we both also like have worked in true crime like documentaries on like
quite a bit.
quite a bit, and so like we've lived in that world a lot. I don't love getting into like the real like nitty gritty of like
But where was he on Friday?
like the tragedy, and like there's some like pretty graphic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, working in true crime, like we see the crime scene photos before they're blurred out, and like get to talk
autopsy photos,
to the victims of these like awful things, so it like really kind of like humanizes it. So like I wanted to take I used to listen to a lot of them, and I like certain elements of it, and I wanted to take that but make it like not so tragic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also poke fun at it because it's the kind of salaciousness that a lot of, particularly true crime, not podcasting in general, but true crime
Right.
podcast, has gotten a little overboard. So it's like, how can we poke fun at that? I think there's a lot of people getting in on that. I mean, we have two characters in Death is Listening who are true crime podcasters, and one is very serious old school journalist, and one is kind of 20 something, just like, she's like kind of a armchair detective via TikTok who's like got her own thing. So it's just a very like different generational approach, which I thought was also a fun way to dive into that world.
All right. So who would you say, if Joel, are you more like Alden, or Margaux, are you more like Birdie?
I mean, these
I'm
are
looking, by the way, at the robots in the background. I think I
those
may
are
know the
mine, and I've
answer.
had them for years.
You're more Alden.
I mean,
it's but do you want to tell them about the mouse?
There's sure. There's a storyline about a mouse in the house, in the Case household, and we had
in this movie.
And we had a mouse in our house, and a lot of it. This is like a much nicer version of what happened. I like lost my mind. I was up at like 3 a.m. with like taped knife around a broom handle in my underwear. I borrowed a boom mic with headphones so I could find it. I like the whole
there's a moment, I will give away a moment, where Alden does like wrap their kitchen in tinfoil to better hear and track this mouse. That came from somewhere.
I did that. I did all of that. I made homemade mouse traps that didn't work. And I think like, yeah, but you have a lot of Birdie's characteristics for sure. You're like really understanding and like patient and kind, but you can also kind of like get on your own, like you can kind of get hyper focused on your own things.
Yeah.
She's
But I mean, also,
closet gambler.
Yeah.
Landscape architecture.
Yeah. I mean, I think also our lesson in getting to see the first movie was letting, like, because I think that in our minds originally, Alden was always kind of the comedian and Birdie was the straight man. And in Cases 2, we opened that up, and Birdie also has her weird quirks and her kind of her moments of going overboard. And also, like, I mean, it's Amy Garcia. How could you not like it? She can handle physical comedy, like she can handle so much, that it was just like this moment of like, oh God, we can like stack the deck even more and give her that much more to chew on. So like, we got them salsa dancing, we got some really fun, I think we got to flex some muscle with Paul and Amy much more,
for sure,
which was really fun. We kind of didn't know we had that much leeway, I think, before.
Yeah, and we wrote the first one not knowing who had been who was cast in it. We found out after we had handed it in. So we got to write number 2 knowing that what Paul and Amy's strengths are. Mm-hmm. Paul being mostly mustache adjacent, and Amy just being an all-star.
But that was actually my next question. Exactly, that was like, you didn't know who they were, and now you do. So was that it? Mostly like leaning more like, okay, hey, we've got Amy who just is hilarious, so we can bump her up. Were there other things like, now that you know who the actual actors
Yeah.
are who portray that
Also,
change the
like,
characters more.
yeah, and it also really opened up their dynamic in a way, because what we were very cautious of was we never wanted Birdie to be the scolding wife who's like, come back to normal, like, and getting to see their dynamic was like, oh, they're both weird together. Like, I mean, in this movie, it's like they both realize they're the murder couple and they're talking about murder
And
too
they don't
much.
have like a lot of friends.
Yeah, they don't have like grown up friends, so it's like, seeing them, we got to like open that up, and then we brought in officer, air quotes, Officer Newton, to kind of, he becomes kind of part of this triangle with them, and so he bounces off the two of them really well, which was a whole new dynamic that was very fun to play with also.
And also like we got to know Paul and Amy, and they have they're friends and have really great chemistry. Like we got on a bunch of Zoom calls and we're brainstorming ideas and just like chatting and hanging out. Like they're really funny and they're really easy to write to, because you just kind of have to like let them do their thing and give the right parameters and like go.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for them, but they also
They think
got
we're pretty great.
got is that you speaking for them?
Yeah.
They got also attached to Alden and Birdie, obviously in their own ways. So then, we're having conversations with them of like, Paul talking about how Alden would want to protect Birdie about certain things, and Birdie would like, want to push him more on this, but then wouldn't quite, betray her mom about something. So there was different loyalties and different kind of awarenesses that came up as they inhabited the characters too. That was, I think, kind of a fun layers that opened up for us too.
Well, I haven't talked, to anyone who really knows Amy before, but I had Andrew Walker and Nikki DeLoach on separately, and I asked them both the same question of who's the funniest person in Hallmark. They both said Paul Campbell is hands down. Like neither of them hesitated. Paul Campbell is just the funniest, like not necessarily comedic actor, just person. So
He's very funny. It's intimidating
think
to be
that-
around him sometimes. He's very, very funny.
Nothing gets, I mean, we went to set, we made a point to get to set because they mentioned on the first movie we ruined so many takes because like the crew was laughing so hard, and we were like, oh, we want to be a part of that. That's, and we got there and it was like, oh yeah, this has nothing to do with what we wrote. This is just like really great actors playing off of each other and having a great time.
There's a scene with Paul and Peter Benson that I could tell Mike Roll is very calm. He's a great director. I could just sense the twinge of like irritation because Paul and Peter were laughing so much that Paul had to like, when they did the reversal, Paul had to like look down, pinch his
like
nose.
the camera was like just over Paul's shoulder, but you can't tell that he's like literally like can't look at Peter because he's they're just like about to break each other. So it
was really fun.
Yeah.
We'll have to look for that one.
Yeah.
All right. So when we talked last time, Joel, you said a lot of these characters were based off some colorful people from your past that you knew. In this one, did you continue some of these quirky people that you've known, in
100%.
real life who've made their way into the script?
Yeah, I don't want to give away too much, but there's definitely like a cast of really colorful characters that are less of like
specific people we know.
Well, some of them actually kind of are, but it's I would say for sure it's less from like long ago and more from like recent memory.
Okay, so because I remember, you said like the lady with the gun in her
that was a real
coat
thing.
and stuff like that and stuff.
Yeah.
So. Did the guy who comes for the mousetrap did he? I don't know if he made the cut.
Yeah.
Did that make the cut?
Yeah, it was very much similar. I don't know if they cut the scene, but there's when we called an exterminator for the mouse in our house. I was like, it was like army.
Joel was not well.
It looked like I just walked out of like Apocalypse Now. Like I had like I'd gone really AWOL, and the like super like sketchy exterminator like asked me if I was doing okay. He's like, "You okay, bro?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just we just got a mouse situation here."
I can sympathize with your mouse though, because a ways back I had a mouse in our house, and what happened was we had like a hole underneath a electrical outlet, and I saw his head pop out. I'm like, oh no, we got a little mouse. And so I went and I got like the humane trap and ended up catching it. And we lived on a golf course. I took it across, I let it go on the golf course. I'm like, oh, there we go. It was a little bit challenging though, because it was a little one of the gluey ones, and I had to peel them off it, which you lose some hair, but whatever. But I let him go, run, live your best life, Mr. Mouse. And then 2 nights later, mouse back in the house.
It was the
And
same
once
mouse.
it came back there, and then it's like, this mouse must die.
It was the same mouse.
Yeah, because he had a shaved head.
Yeah. Oh, it was the same.
The
It was the
glue.
same mouse. He definitely worked his way back in. So, and then the other thing, you're talking about your exterminator, and you can. Do you follow football at all? Do you guys?
I'm not a sports guy.
Okay. Well,
but I have a vague awareness of it.
Do you know who Aaron Hernandez is?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
from New England, so yes.
Okay. Yes. So we had. I was talking about the electrician. The guy came to our house, or electrician, not a plumber, but he came to our house, and his name was Aaron Hernandez. And it's like you get like this little alert saying Aaron Hernandez will be coming to your house and whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like cracking up with my wife. And
You don't want that.
And so the guy comes in, and the whole time I'm just so anxious. I've got to say something. My wife's like, do not say anything. Do not say anything. And finally, when he's finished up doing his whole thing, I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't help it. But do you all like, what is it like going through life with the name Aaron Hernandez? And he was like, oh yeah, I get it all the time. In fact, my nickname.
I'm sure he does.
He's like, my nickname at the place is like, everyone has their nickname. His is Killer and stuff. And the funny thing is, he's like the nicest, most pleasanty type person. So he wasn't like a big, scary guy. But so yes,
That's great.
I would think you get some good. That's a good source of material for you. The when you have the service people coming to the house.
All the time.
Always.
All the time.
But I mean, also we had, Alden and Birdie are on this quest a little bit to find more adult friends. So we have kind of that attempt. Those are, kind of some just.
Yeah, and I think like our attempts, like when we find like adult friends, like I try to be normal, which usually doesn't work out so well.
It's like you're dating again or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
and like
totally
you
dating.
throw in like kids' school stuff, and it's just like this whole other kind of like world where I'll just like say something really inappropriate, or like I'll swear in front of a kid, and just like I just step in it. And so I think like we wanted to like emulate that feeling of
just it's awkward. It's like it's dating, but not
Right. Oh, I know. I remember those days. So, all right. So with this one, with the original, Paul Campbell was like openly advocating for more cases, which you don't. I mean, you got the actors will say, "Oh yeah, I love being in it," but I mean, he was really going overboard, like saying it was, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially like it was his favorite role, it was his best written character, and with him being a writer, like that's got to make you guys feel good, huh?
Oh, huge,
Yeah.
huge.
I didn't realize like I thought he was just, I was like, oh, he has to say that, but then it became clear that that was not something he had to say. And yeah, I mean, it's like a huge compliment. And also like, he's not just a writer. I mean, they wrote him and
like a huge
Kimberly Sustad co-wrote
huge Christmas movie,
the number one like Hallmark Christmas movie, and so so yeah, it was really flattering.
Writing a joke that him and Amy like, it just warms our heart, makes us feel like, okay, we're doing something right in life.
And we get to like play dress up with Paul. Like we get to, in this movie, you'll see he's wearing quite a few different
we had
eccentric wardrobe choices, and I think he really enjoyed it. It was really funny and really fun.
All right. So, I mean, it probably is a little bit of like insecurity, knowing, like you said, he is a great writer and all that, but also like proud. But did you get, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but did you actually like consult on him from like as one writer to another, or is it mostly like him just giving some thoughts on his character?
It wasn't even really like that. I think he just,
I mean, look, our challenge was to make a second movie that we thought was as kind of heartfelt and fun as the first movie. And so, we had just kind of an aside with Paul and Amy before, like, I think like right after the strike, just to like, kind of, here's where we're at, here's what we're thinking, just very open brainstorming, just to to kind of touch base about their characters. And then they weigh in around the table read process. So like we're like drafts in at that point. And if there's any, and they suggested like great character tweaks and just kind of nudges to kind of get them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then on set, if we, we helped where we could, if we felt we needed a joke to get out of a scene and stuff like that.
And also Amy's a writer as well. She's
Yeah.
like a very talented writer
And director,
Oh, really?
yeah.
and director. And so like they both have these like incredible instincts and can kind of see everything, like see our writing in 3 dimension as both like a writer, an actor. So they kind of like know how to play it, but also sometimes things need to be like tweaked or massaged a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they like have a really like intuitive way of viewing things. And that was like super helpful.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned him a little bit earlier, how Officer Newton, Officer air quotes, is back, and he's got a little bit bigger role in this one. But can we expect to see some of those other great characters from the first one, like Milton and Kyle and Rick and those guys, or is it just Officer Newton?
What's his name?
Thumbs.
Thumbs is coming back. So the instructor of the PI
That's
school.
Milton, right?
Yeah. So nobody else. Rick is not back in this one. I just because they're not in this one doesn't mean they won't come back down the line. Is kind of there's a couple people we adore that like we might put in our back pocket.
Yeah, that definitely.
And Eleanor, Birdie's mom, is back in this one. Who else is? I think that's it for Rick. Eleanor's in 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
I think.
Nice to know you.
yeah, because of her job.
Go look at the whiteboard. Go look at that color-coded whiteboard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is we wanted in this one to talk about like, because Alden and Birdie are on the verge of divorce in movie 1, and so we obviously can't do that again.
Right.
So this is more about them settling into their new roles. So Birdie has some tension with her mom, Eleanor, at work, trying to juggle like being more of a PI, but also does she keep her day job? How is that working out with her mom? And is it getting tricky? So that tension came up in this movie.
All right. So way back when we first talked about the original, you had said this was originally conceived as being like a weekly serial. And, with Hallmark Plus coming around, do you think it still has the possibility where it could be like one of these 10 to 13 episode type, mysteries? Probably it goes from being the hour and a half down to, like an hour or 50-minute, whatever the actual
100%. We will do that in a heartbeat. Paul will do it. Amy will do it. We will all gladly do it. It is all entirely up to them. They know more than we do. But I would love to. But also if they don't, we'll keep doing this format because I just think for us, just the fact that this world gets to continue to exist is amazing. Mm-hmm. That these characters continue to live and breathe and grow.
I mean, it's also, these are 9-act movies. It's like, this is like,
right.
Murder, She Wrote episodes also used to be fairly longer. Like there used to be bigger episodes or kind of double episodes. Columbo did that, like,
Columbo's super long.
Yeah, these were like longer episodes. So if we live in a world where we get to do more of this length in these movies and just keep, there's plenty of cases coming Birdie and Alden's way. That I think there's always something to play with those two.
Should we be so lucky to do that?
We be so lucky?
But based on that enthusiasm, it seems like you would absolutely love a episode type mystery type thing, whether it be Alden and Birdie or just in general. It seems like, because that's kind of more your background, isn't it? Writing more of that episode.
It was, yeah.
It was until the last couple of years.
Yeah, but we definitely come from like a more like episodic hour long, and we would love to do that. But like again, the format is kind of it doesn't really matter to us. Just the fact that we get to like we get to see the characters we created like live on screen is like amazing.
But, the opportunity of like, let's say like an 8 to 10 episode season and doing like a big mystery arc, that also is it's a little intimidating, but also really fun it's just a different like, playing board, chessboard in that sense.
Okay. Well, maybe what I'll have to do is write it in. I'll PS my sternly written letter to Hallmark about making me wait. I'll say, hey, as a make good, what you can do is give them a episodic an episodic mystery to
Please.
make up for it. Okay.
Please, yes, yeah.
So
And
there we go.
next thing you know, they won't do that. They'll just send you like an edible arrangement, because that's clearly much more cost
Hey,
effective.
they did send me a charcuterie board for Mother's Day.
Woo!
Hey now.
So yeah, no.
Didn't send us a charcuterie board.
I didn't get anything for Mother's
That's
Day.
a win.
I did feel special. All right. So we've been talking about the mystery a lot and all that, but have you guys ever like considered other genres? Like, Hallmark known for the rom-com thing. Like, do you think you guys have you ever thought about doing the rom-coms, or are you kind of mystery?
No, we would totally do it. I mean, I have a background. We write other things besides Hallmark. I've done animation and sitcoms. Margot's done like really dark dramatic stuff and thrillers and suspense, and so like rom-coms would be totally something we would
I
love
mean,
to do.
we're a little bit in a zone where like a friend of mine gave me a book to read and it was a beautiful book, but I had a hard time because like 50 pages in, there's no murder. And I was like, I don't understand what to do.
When
with
is somebody gonna die?
Just like I'm flipping through, I'm not seeing any murder. And she's like, no, it's not there's no murder. I'm like, what are we doing here then?
So you're like watching Sound of Music going, when is someone gonna die?
Well, the Nazis are coming, so
That's a good point.
We know, but yeah.
Watch out for Liesel, man. She's a tricky one.
It's real foreboding there, but yeah, it's I think it'd be really fun to write something. I think we could totally do a rom-com. We've talked about Christmas mysteries and playing about with that.
Yeah, we had a couple ideas for some rom-coms, but we had other things to write. So
Well, we aren't all sure exactly what Hallmark Plus is going to be, just based on the things that have been coming out. It does seem that they are really anxious for more new and different content coming out. So, yeah, maybe an opportunity along those lines.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, the audience has been so good with like following Hallmark movies linearly on cable. I would imagine it, does translate to streaming, and then their stuff is so good. The ability to binge it is.
I mean, you think about like what's really popular on streaming, like Suits and White Collar. Those are kind of mysteries. They're just a little bit different, right? Like they're procedurals. Like you want to know who did it. Something happens. You want to wrap it up every episode, and people have like this insatiable appetite for that type of stuff.
But if you like the characters who are doing it, then you'll come back. Yeah.
Psych and Monk, all like quirky, unique, interesting characters that solve mysteries.
All right. Okay. So one of the things that we just discussed last time was about how the original was like so groundbreaking in the fact that you had a secret gay relationship that turned out to be not so secret and instead an open marriage, right? That's not very Hallmarky at all. And the biggest thing that was so groundbreaking, how it wasn't even an issue, right? It just was,
Right.
That's what the story was like. It seemed like people would have lost their minds over it, but it wasn't. But regardless, is there any envelope pushing that's going on in this one as well? Or is it just a good old mystery?
We weren't really trying to push an envelope. We just wanted to that was just kind of the character that came forward.
Yeah, I mean, and we always just try and, when the audience expects you to go right, we go left. Like we always just try and do the unexpected choice.
I like flipping things on its head, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like what we do for where you expect, like with Birdie, you expect her like, okay, she's naggy because her husband's doing this, but she's like, no, let's do this. I'm down, you know? And like, that just happened to be where that one landed. It wasn't, oh, we're going to do something. We're going to push the envelope and we just were like, oh, he's gay. And that's an interesting thing about him. And
it's a piece of him.
And what if instead of the wife being like, oh, mortified, well, she's like, yeah, I know. And relationships are complicated. And so that was kind of what we just wanted to do. I don't even know if we do that in this.
I mean, what we kind of established in movie 2 here was, there's a murder of a true crime podcaster. I'm saying this because that was in the preview, so I know that's allowed to be said. But there's a cast of characters who are all people who work at this podcast studio, and Alden and Birdie get brought because they can speak like kind of the specifics of.
That's a bit of a spoiler alert.
Well, they get brought. Okay, sorry.
That's a total spoiler alert.
Well,
I would wait.
That information.
I would wait to. That is a total spoiler alert. To go back to what you're saying, I think that we don't usually write things with the idea of pushing the envelope, but we like to write authentic characters, and sometimes they happen to have this characteristic or be that, and that's not a define like. For Tim, like being gay wasn't a defining characteristic about him. That just happened to be who he was, his identity. And that's what I kind of want our characters to shift towards.
Do you think maybe it's more like about a naivete of Hallmark, knowing that would be like something never before seen? Whereas, like you said, it's just sort of the character and things like that.
I think that like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I know there was the before people that ran it, and they had certain kind of parameters.
Oh yeah, this definitely would never. That would never would happen in the old one.
I mean, I think it speaks to the current regime, basically, that they didn't. I mean, it was a very minimal conversation. It wasn't. We didn't have to talk to a lot of people about it, and I think that's
nobody asked us to change it or to like water it down. It was like, oh, that's an interesting choice, and let's move on. And I think kind of. Our exec Laura Gaines was like really supportive of it and wanting to like, I think from what I understand, they want Hallmark's evolving a little bit, but still with being Hallmark in the way that Hallmark is.
Yeah.
I know they had a gay character in a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And so like, it's still a Hallmark Christmas movie, but like, it just happens to expanding their world a little bit.
Yeah.
To be more inclusive.
And mysteries, theoretically should be doing that too.
Okay, so along these lines, obviously this is your second Hallmark movie. Was there what did you learn from the first one, and did you approach this one differently now that you are veterans in the space?
The audience is really, really not to be underestimated.
Yeah, really smart.
Really smart.
We were like, there were people who were like, we knew right away, and I was like, really? Like, oh. So we spent a lot of time in number 2 just trying to like, and listen, there's people who are always going to guess it. People are always really smart, but we really wanted to like, okay, we have to step up our game. This audience is really smart and is really detail oriented. So
this audience doesn't miss a thing. And also, details matter. And like, we can't. I mean, Joel says, well, it's like the only genre where your audience, from the first minute of film is trying to kind of, poke holes in what you've done and find the answer and get to the truth of it. So it really kept us on our toes of, can we do better? Can we, have more red herrings? Can we, not confuse the audience, but can we, kind of hide it a little bit better? So that was a challenge. That was definitely a challenge. But I mean, I'm hoping we lived up to it, but it definitely made us.
We'll find out in a few weeks.
Step up.
Well, one of the things we've talked about is, just in the genre and Hallmark, you have a, the budget limits things, right? This isn't some big, huge production. In fact, I was just talking to another one of the big Hallmark mystery writers, John Christian Plummer, of Mystery 101 and Mystery Island fame and everything like that. And we were talking about that of stumping. And it is, you have a limited number of characters you can afford, right? So it's narrowed down. So to say, oh, I was able to guess it right away, you have 6 people to choose from. You're going to get, someone's going to randomly guess it right? So
yeah, I mean,
if you have a good story, I don't think that's an issue. Personally,
that's also like something that we were talking to our producers with, because as opposed to like, Peter Benson directed a movie, I think it was like 2 people in a bookstore. Like rom-coms, you don't need to have a minimum of 3 suspects, where this, you need to have like a much bigger cast. And I do think like, the budgets aren't huge, but they do like an incredible job.
Incredible job.
There's like a lot of people working really hard just making things work. Like we rarely hear, "Oh, we can't do that." We sometimes hear like, "Can we tone this down?" But
can we combine these
we
two locations? But yeah,
we wrote the scene with them. Like I wrote originally, there's like with the mouse where we just see a mouse like in a box at the end, where that's the one time we see it, because I was like, they're not going to have enough money to.
we don't want to deal with filming a mouse.
They had a mouse trainer. They had
it took four mice.
They had 4 different mice on set to like, it was, the mouse is like an active participant in the movie, and I think that like Kim Arnaud deserves like an insane amount of credit for making that happen, because she was the one who was like, oh no, we want more of the mouse. Like she encouraged us to like,
we were like, why are you doing this to yourselves?
We thought we were making it easier for you, but okay. So like they make a little go a long way and do an incredible job and are incredibly dedicated to what they do.
Here's where you were brilliant, and I don't think once again you knew it. So we talked to the writers back for Crimes of Fashion, and they had a rat, which is obviously much bigger than a mouse. But they were, I think originally they had it written so there were a few rats, but they were only able to afford the one rat with the rat. And once again, a rat train or wrangler trainer, whatever the heck it is, which never just knew that there were rodent trainers. But so
I didn't know that either.
And but they were only able to afford the one rat for their scene. So you were smarter. You used a mouse, which is smaller, so they could do 4 mice and work it around a little more. So that was smart.
To, like, swap in for each other, in the way like babies do on shows. But like the mouse gives a great performance.
It really does.
We were very impressed.
We watched
with
the first cut,
mouse's work,
and I was like, that's unbelievable what they got that mouse to do, because it's like, I don't even know how you train a mouse.
Right.
Like, here's cheese, do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And with 30 people all just watching and waiting.
And lights and
And they probably have a really big, what do you call the little rider or whatever, the little list of their demands and stuff like that. Like
16 tubs of cottage cheese.
They want blue cheese.
Yeah.
But so, all right, Joel. So you and I, we chat a little bit on Instagram throughout the time, and thanks for telling me that this was filmed back in February and causing me all the stress for months, but whatever, I'll let you off the hook.
What I do.
But one of the things you said to me relatively recently was that this one you think is even better than the original. So I know you can't share everything. We don't want all the details and everything like that, but what can you guys tell us that's going to just get us really excited for this second installment of the cases?
I mean, we got Paul and Amy doing salsa dancing.
And Paul's like in a ridiculous outfit with a fake mustache and it's unbuttoned. There's another scene where Paul's wearing some very short shorts.
Yeah, they go to yoga.
And so I think why I like this one is like, it's really smooth, and we got to write it knowing who they were, and got to we were given a lot of permission to play, right? Like they're like, more fun stuff, more of this, more of that, while still keeping like the heart of it. I think it is really, really funny. Paul is great in it. Amy is absolutely brilliant in it. And we got to it just is such a smooth movie. I watched it and I was like, wait, how long was that? It felt like 10 minutes. Like it just blew past you. And I think with the first one, the first ones are always tough because you're just trying to figure out who you are and what it is. And so I really... It
also just is like the first one is like, they're on the case. Are they going to become PIs? And it's kind of, the engine's just getting started. And they're just ironing out the kinks in their marriage. And this one is like, they're on much more solid ground. And they're having fun together. And there's something really fun about that. Because, why we started this in the beginning was we don't find a lot of happily fun married couples on the things we watch. It's like people get drama or tropes of just like, we're going to argue about who's folding the laundry and unloading the dishwasher. But like, there's more to marriage than that.
Relationships, they're either falling in love or falling out of love. And we wanted to show people who are staying in love and what that entails. Because that's very grounded to us of like, oh, isn't it funny when, you make your wife move to economy and have to do all these fun things. And it's like, just showing these characters like really come to life in a world, and we got to,
And they're having more fun doing it.
I think we learned a few things of like what worked in movie one and what did. There's a couple things that I was like, oh, maybe I do that differently, and we got to do it differently.
All right. Well, with that, we will wrap up. Very excited next week to finally be watching it. I will leave you on this note too. As we were talking before, my wife and I went out to Boston, and we were flying back, and on that upgrade list, we did have the conversation where I told my wife I was like number 4 and she was number 5, and I said, if I get upgraded, I'm abandoning you. Well, right now, I am telling you this. So I understand where Margaux was coming from when she was not wanting to give up.
I texted her. I was texting her frantically because I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Because like, I have to do it now. I have to make it. And it's one of those times in like marriages where like, I'm like, I have to make a very important decision and I can't get a hold of you. Every time I'm going to make the wrong one. Like without a doubt, it will be the wrong decision.
All right. Well, is there anything you can share about what's coming up next for you guys, or is it still just the hush-hush things in development type?
I can't say anything, but I can just say we are writing a lot.
We're busy.
We're busy working.
We're happily busy.
And we can't say what, but we know you're going to like them, and we're really excited, and that's kind of all that we can divulge at this time.
So life's much better when there's not a strike going on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Happy to be back.
Thanks
can't
for
wait
having
to
us.
talk to you till afterwards and let you know how it went. I am counting on it being fantastic.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear what you think.
Yes. I hope you don't have to block me afterwards. I'm just kidding.
Me too.
I know, Joel, last time you said you quit Twitter and then you kind of had to log back on to follow.
Yeah, I just joined Threads because I was like, oh, I got to know what's going on. And
God, you joined. Okay, wow.
There was
That's it.
It's not a wise decision.
That's gonna backfire.
I'm sure you're gonna like it. It's a great movie. Paul and Amy really.
Paul and Amy nailed it. It's like the team is back. Like strikes are over. Like everyone's back doing what we love.
All right.
Thank
you very much, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.